What's up, everyone? Welcome into episode number 491, where Liam and I will recap Michigan State's 45-31 loss at USC in a game where it could have gone either way. I think MSU fans, depending on the fraction that you're in right now, because it seems like it's a very much divided fan base at this point. But some people are happy, like they fought back. Other people are not super happy about how yesterday went. Where are you at with this right now, Liam? What were your thoughts on the game? What were your takeaways?
Um, I think there's a lot of overreaction right now. I understand that I see a lot of like that's not the standard to lose by 2 scores on the road, but yeah, obviously no. I don't think anyone's trying to say that is the standard. Like no one is excusing really the loss. It's just you have to look at the circumstances of the team you have on the field, and I mean and you have to be real. Like when the line comes out and they're 20-point underdogs, you have to be real with yourself. It's not like this thing like, oh my, Michigan State's new standard is getting smoked all the time. Like that's not what people that are okay with that game are trying to say. I don't know where I guess I stand. Like I completely agree. The defense is not up to the standard, and I'm not excusing a loss at all, but you you you're down 31-10. You really easily could have lost that thing 52-10 or 52-17, and you saw a fight last night that you haven't really seen probably since 2021 maybe, or like, yeah, some early games in 22 or something.
Yeah, no, and I think really going back to 2021 might be the first time we saw that fight. And I think we only truly saw it like once, which was the
Yeah,
Michigan game, because everyone else was like MSU was out to the lead at the
yeah.
beginning and just controlled, and Kenneth Walker just did whatever he wanted to. But you talked about how the defense isn't up to standard, and I completely agree. When's the last time it was up to standard though? Like we're almost
No, yeah,
probably like 8 to 10 years since maybe the last time MSU's been kind of up to that standard. Maybe 2019. I know
yeah,
there's some idea. There's some years where the offense was just complete, not great, to put it
yeah. The
kindly. But the
the
defense was good.
Willikis years, and I'd say that was a good I mean, you let's put it this way, you put one of those defenses just with pair that with the offense we've got right now, and that team would be scared. I mean, that team would be in the playoff, I don't think, without a doubt. So, even if those weren't the most like elite defenses compared to like the Narduzzi years, which I think they still were pretty statistically good, but we would any Michigan State fan would die for a defense like that right now.
Yeah, or any Lion fan as well, because turns out the Lions and MSU fans, there's no such thing as getting pressure on the quarterback right now, unless you're Aidan Hutchinson, which Aidan Hutchinson obviously isn't on the Spartans, but it truly, to me, felt like when Jordan Hall got that targeting call in this game pretty early on. Now, he's not going to miss any time against Nebraska, which is obviously a good thing.
Yeah, it's
But
nice to
like
have him in the first.
we've talked about already, like how much this defense struggled. When that happened, it almost felt like this game was completely over at that point. It doesn't matter exactly what the score was at that time. And I'm pretty sure it was a one possession, maybe a two possession game at that time. But
Mhm.
I think Jordan Hall is that important to this defense, even though that they have struggled pretty mightily.
No, yeah, I mean, that's the best player on your defense, and that struggled, and so you take him out, and then you're like, "Holy crap, what are we looking at?" And Pretzlaff was out too, like, and not to mention Wayne Matthews, he seems to be doing better, so good for him. But yeah, I mean, like we said on the pregame show numerous times, you're 20-point underdogs. Basically, you're gonna need everything to go your way, and it just stuff. It feels like stuff hasn't gone MSU's way in a while, like with injuries and just just seems like they can't catch a break no matter who, what, or where they're playing. So yeah, no. Once Hall left the game, once Matthews left the game, it was going to be more of an uphill battle than it already was as a 20-point dog.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And one of the first things that I probably should have brought up is just thoughts and prayers to Wayne Matthews. It sounds like he's going to be
Yeah,
okay. I
seems
know
like
that
he's doing
was
all right.
Yeah, I know that was a pretty scary situation yesterday. But sounds like he's doing all right. Sounds like
Yeah,
he's going to be back, which would be absolutely huge for
yeah,
this defense and for the linebacker room.
yeah. No, he said he's gonna be back sooner than later, or whatever. Whatever, better than ever, or something like that. So yeah, good on him, and it's great that he's not in any too serious of a position.
Yeah, and it was great that he obviously traveled back with the team. It was
Yeah,
reported by Spartans Illustrated last night that he traveled back. Probably pretty precautionary for rightful reasons. We obviously don't know exactly what it is, but yeah, no, I think MSU really needs Wayne Matthews back. Obviously, Jordan Hall is going to be back for Nebraska, but in this game, there were several moments, especially when this team started to kind of fight back, which, like you mentioned, we haven't seen that in a while. And I feel like the comparison between this team and last year's team is a little bit incorrect at this
yeah,
point
no,
because if this was last year's team, and no shot at last year's team, but I think you could kind of tell maybe it wasn't as close as of a team as last year, which is difficult in the first year, obviously under Jonathan Smith. But if this was last year's team, that game ends up being a 21, 28, 35 point loss, in my
yeah,
opinion.
for sure, no, for sure. I don't think. I mean, sports fans are never really rational, and I don't think you're getting many rational responses out of MSU, and that's just what and that's just what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't think any of us, like you or me or anyone who's reporting on it or trying to give a reading of the room, is trying to say that this is what Michigan State's supposed to do. It's just you have to acknowledge signs of growth. Like, no matter, I keep seeing like people talking about, yeah, it doesn't take time. Look at Signetti, but like, yeah, like sure, that's clearly he's worked some incredible magic, and I mean, it is still only week 4 of year 2, so
Yeah, and that's one of the questions I asked last night, especially for you, is that like, do you feel better? Do you feel about the same? Do you feel worse after this game? I feel like it's kind of hard to tell
it
because
is hard to
offensively I feel better, but
no,
defensively I'm like, it's the same thing.
yeah, yeah, I agree. I don't really know how I feel. I tend to say better, honestly, just because again, you had even more injuries. You had like Dunnigan and Nakai Martinez, like, so we knew the defense was going to get lit up, and that they didn't get helped out at all with injuries and targeting, and so I think that is like, I'm not feeling that much worse about the defense. Like, we knew that was going to happen. Now, if they can't fix it at all, like if that's what it looks like every week, which it might, then it's still probably a lost call. It's still probably like a 7-win ceiling, but you never know what you just gotta hope you can make something. And offensively, I do feel better. So you just gotta hope you can make something happen going forward with the defense. And as unfair as it may be, I don't think it would be necessarily a scapegoat. But Joe Rossi, at the end of the day, is a defensive coordinator and is getting paid a lot of money to put the defense in a position to do to literally do something. Like, I don't think that's overstating it either. Like, they can't do anything right now, and I think you got 2 weeks to prepare for Nebraska, who didn't look like world beaters last week or yesterday. Obviously, I mean, they lost, but their play calling was pretty conservative. I mean, they hit that Hail Mary, obviously, but aside from that, they only put up 20 points. I don't know. We'll see. So, but we'll see. But I just think Coach Rossi has to. It's ultimately it's on him to find a way to do something for the next 8 games.
Yeah, because even when they sent pressure, even when they sent a
No,
blitz, there was a couple of times where they somewhat got there. One of those was obviously the first play in the fourth quarter. MSU was down
yeah,
7 at that point. I believe it was a 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6. They got to
Mayava.
Jaden Mayava, and he just made an insane play. But you look at it and you look at like the linebacker, the defensive end, like they get sucked in, like force him to come in. You have help. Like there's positions, there's opportunities for this defense to be better. And I'm not trying to give blame off of Joe Rossi. I think Joe Rossi's a big part of it because obviously you're the defensive coordinator. Like you're supposed to put these guys in the right positions. But there's several times in this game it truly felt like they were one play away from making the quote unquote right decision that when they didn't make it or they weren't right there, then it ended up being a first down or a fourth down conversion or something like that. Again, I'm not giving any like slack to Joe Rossi because I don't think he deserves any
Yeah,
at this point
yeah.
because you're making over $1 million. Like either figure out something or question if he's even the DC next year.
Yeah, no, no, I agree. I mean, there are some things that aren't in his control. I mean, I thought, yeah, that play, someone has to find a way to bring him down. I think a couple things I noticed uh, more with the players that I was disappointed with, especially rewatching back through it. What I think I it seems like our defensive ends are taking themselves out of the play too much. They're kind of like blocking themselves, you could say. Like they're getting sucked too far up into the backfield, like 3-4 yards. So all you're making the tackle or the tight end do is kind of just turn his shoulders, and there's a hole off that tight end's butt right there. All automatically once like guy like I'm not trying to pick on him, but Jalen Thompson, I saw him a couple times just get like 4 yards into the backfield, and then all of a sudden there's just a wide open hole for Wayman Jordan or Eli Sanders just because of the nature of how deep Thompson was, and it's easy for them to get by him. And then another thing I noticed is, or another thing I was disappointed with on our DBs was they I think they really struggled on the perimeter. Like they were getting blocked too easily by the USC receivers. And
Yeah,
so that's another thing that is not really on Rossi, but it's like, I mean,
it's kind of effort plays.
yeah, like, and I hate to say that because like I I'm not saying these dudes aren't out there busting their ass and giving 100%, but like it yeah, you gotta find a way to win outside, and it's not that hard of a thing to do. It's hard for a wide receiver to engage and block a DB for a long play without holding or like, so yeah, I was disappointed out in the perimeter and obviously the pass rush and the I mean, basically everything on defense was disappointing.
Yeah, and I know we talked about in the preview of how I basically mentioned, I know you basically mentioned going into this game, if you wanted a chance, I truly think you needed to stop the run. And if you look at just the overall like total yards, especially the yards that USC ran for, like if you just look at those and didn't even watch the game or didn't even see the score, I would think MSU would lose by
Oh, yeah.
20 plus. Like I truly don't know how MSU made this a 14-point game. Now, obviously, a lot of that has to do with Amari Kelly having the long touchdown catch at the end of the game, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like, that obviously helps. But, like, should we be concerned about the run defense? Because that was truly our strong suit. And you looked at USC in this game, and they looked pretty comfortable running the ball.
No, I think you're concerned about everything at this point on
Yeah.
defense, and again, I'm not trying to be like this over the top reactor person. Like I just think that's the truth. You knew there were major concerns and needed to see some signs of life or growth from the first 3 weeks, and then you didn't at all. And another thing I'm noticing watching back through the game, again, it looks like I mentioned this. I don't know if it was last week or Boston College recap. Our DBs look like they don't know what they're doing on a couple key plays on that third down um, that broke around the left side and scrambled and picked it up. Our DBs right up until the snap again are talking to each other with their hands out, like trying to figure stuff out. And I do not think that should be happening. I don't know. It we should be
I agree.
concerned with the run D, with the pass D, with the pass rush, with the coverage, with everything, with the scheme. Like it's not encouraging to this point, and you gotta
No,
hope you can do something in the bye week or something. So
Yeah, I was just going to say you have the bye week to figure out. You got Nebraska after that. We'll actually have a Nebraska podcast on, which I'm obviously super excited about. We'll wait a little while to preview that one, though. But I feel like we've been a little bit too negative so far, which obviously, when we talk about defense, I don't know really if you can talk positively. But let's get a little bit more positive because I thought offensively, there was times where I kind of wondered what Brian Lindgren was doing, especially towards the end of the game when it was like a 2 or 3 score possession. He went run, run, pass. Don't necessarily understand that. There didn't seem any urgency. But I thought offensively in this game, we talked about it and I mentioned you feel better about it. I truly think you continue to see Aidan Chiles like grow. Like this is the Aidan Chiles I feel like everyone thought he was going to be. And I even saw a tweet like, is this better than we thought he would be? Because Aiden's one accurate, two, he's using his legs, and he's just I don't want to say carrying this team, but he's almost carrying this offense just by himself with these plays that he's making,
No, I think it would maybe even be fair to say this is better than you expected him to be. I mean,
especially in year
now,
two.
yeah, dating back to I don't know, I actually don't have the stat at all, but there was that one stat about how he finished the year much cleaner, touchdowns to interceptions. I don't think it was a certain amount of games he ended the year without couple an interception or something, and now he's got one. And like we've brought up 100 times, it was that stupid tip pass against Youngstown, and 9 passing touchdowns, at least a couple rushing touchdowns. I mean, he is balling right now, and yeah, you needed to see that. I don't think it's premature to just start getting super excited about the next 8 games and 12, all 12 next year's. No, he's looked,
Hopefully 12 next year.
yeah,
Hopefully.
yeah, he's looked great.
And then
Got
I
it.
also feel like we've kind of found our RB1 too. Like there's
Yeah,
a
Makai Frazier.
huge difference between RB1 and RB2, RB3.
Yeah, no, Makai has looked great. He the O line was letting the Trojans get across their face too much, and Makai Frazier was like, I don't care. Like, I'm just gonna put my foot in the ground and run the other way, and it worked like 3, 4 times for big runs. And yeah, I he looks great last night.
There were several runs, especially the one I think it was second and 8, where basically the defensive tackle almost tackled Aidan Chiles trying to get the
Yeah,
ball to Makai Frazier.
yeah.
Like there were several times where the defensive tackle just beat the guard inside and you see the guard trying to block inside. Like that needs to be better. Now I do think towards the end of the game in the third quarter, MSU actually did find some running in the game
No,
where
they
they
did.
looked a little bit better. But like
Yeah,
this offensive line, I do think they obviously has less of a rotation. I do think that obviously helped, but this offensive line still needs to grow quite a bit.
yeah. No, it for sure. And O line could grow. I mean, in the run game, and definitely could grow in the pass game. I mean, Childs was out running for his life basically every drive except the first one. Yeah, no, there's still a lot of areas of concern on the team, but offensively as a whole, I think the game plan was pretty good. There were a couple calls like you said I didn't like. Like I didn't like what you brought up with the Tullis. I mean, when I was just watching it back, I guess the thought process is probably we got 4 downs here anyways,
Yeah.
but still didn't love it. I didn't love the trick play on 1st and goal just because of how they'd been moving the ball. I don't hate it. Like I'm in no way am I saying they should be like this conservative, bland team run every time they're down in there. I like creativity. It's just I don't know. I mean, they just tried a trick play and Childs almost screwed it up by throwing him a short hop. And I mean, it was there kinda. I don't know if he would have scored though, just because USC had some guys. But I think the game plan was pretty good, and I think the offense is just going to continue to get better, which is really exciting because this is not what we're used to at Michigan State.
Yeah, not as of recent. Really 2021 and it was mainly obviously Kenneth Walker, but then you look at the wide receiver room in 2021. You have Jalen Naylor, Jaden Reed. You had a ton of weapons there. I feel like this is like right up there. Now, obviously you don't have a Kenneth Walker in the backfield, which him on this offense would be absolutely electric. I don't know if anyone would stop this offense if that happened, but you talked about
No,
creativity. The one play I really liked, and I do have to give Brian Lindgren credit for this, and I don't think I've ever seen it, maybe a couple of times, but the fake tush push to the pass to
yeah,
Jack Belling,
I
I
like
thought
that.
that was a great play design.
No, I agree. Yeah, that was a great play design. That you just are gonna lull the defense into thinking that they're going straight tush push every time, and that worked perfectly. Um, yeah, no, that was a great play.
Yeah, and then obviously the wide receivers, right? Like Amari Kelly had a huge game in this one. Christian McCray, great, great play by Christian McCray to start out. And then you have Nick Marsh, and this is where I kind of want to talk a little bit about Nick Marsh because I don't obviously want to be harsh on him, and I don't think rightfully so we shouldn't be. But he's going to be facing a lot of defenses like this with the
Yep,
safety over the top.
yep,
And I do think MSU needs to get better at continuing to try to find him, continuing to use him. If it means having him in motion, if it means having him in the slot, he's going to be facing two guys, and you still need to continue to get him involved in the offense. And I do think Amari Kelly and Christian McCray are good enough where if he isn't involved as much as he probably should be, you have wide receivers that can make big plays. But I truly think MSU should have done a little bit better with Nick Marsh in this game, in my opinion. He wasn't 100% healthy, it didn't seem like, according to Jonathan Smith. Maybe that was a big part of it. But Nick Marsh should have more than 2 catches, 28 yards in any game he plays at MSU.
yeah. No, I mean, we were talking about this literally last week or 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, maybe the injury had something to do with it, and they were blanketing him pretty well. I mean, I saw the fourth down that effectively ended the game where Chiles overthrew Kelly. Marsh was at the top of the screen and I'm watching it and it just looks like this dude was getting grabbed the whole way out of you couldn't even tell what route Marsh was trying to get into because he was just so gridlocked with the DB. But I think a way to do it, honestly, is I think we need to run more RPO. Like that RPO, just little mesh point flip to Marsh on that first drive, it was so easy. If they're going to sag off him, which obviously they didn't later, but find a way to bring him in tighter to the formation or put him in the slot almost even, like, do whatever because he's gotta get the ball, like, for sure.
Yeah, and I really like those RPOs because one is you can obviously get the ball out to Nick Marsh really quickly. I also thought really early on Nick Marsh had some great blacks out there at wide receiver as well. Like he's a guy that's going to continue to work hard, and I think he's a guy with that blanket coverage that he's been dealing with. I think he rightfully deserves that at
Yeah.
this point. He's just that good. It's just you're going to have to figure out a way to get him the ball differently, and I truly think maybe through this bye week, you can try to add in some more wrinkles to kind of get him the ball. I'm not saying line him up in the backfield. I personally wouldn't maybe line him up in the backfield unless he's going in motion and maybe trying to do a screen pass like this, but like move him around, like move him in the slot. Like you have guys on this team that you can put in the X, Y, and Z and you can rotate them. Like maybe Christian McCray might be the only true guy that might have to be in the slot, but then put Nick Marsh in the slot on the other side.
No, yeah, I think, I don't know, I think a way this is, like, low-hanging fruit, but one way to help get Marsh the ball more is honestly just on the O-line. Like, if you can make them so if teams are gonna come in, say, Nebraska next week or 2 weeks, if they come in with the game plan to have a safety over Marsh, you got a corner too, obviously, so that's 2 dudes. You gotta make them get pressure with more than just a four-man rush. Like, USC was not blitzing that much, like, at all, and getting pressure on every play. So then, what that also does is it makes Chiles no, maybe Marsh is the number one read on 75% of the pass plays, but it doesn't even matter once Childs is flushed out and running for his life. At that point, he's just looking for who's ever open. It doesn't matter the progression. So I think, I mean, you got to step up the block game. I think that'll help get Marsh the ball more. And I think, Yeah, any wrinkle you can do to get him the rock is gonna be nice because, like you said, we have the talent outside of him. So we should be able to make him pay if they want to like double or just have a high guy over him the whole time. And then so get the ball to Kelly, McCray, and then once they got to adjust, then you just go back to feeding Marsh. I mean, it should be really fun for Lindgren to call because they've got guys now.
Yeah, it should be easy, right? Like as an offensive coordinator,
Hypothetically, yeah,
obviously being an offensive coordinator isn't extremely easy. Maybe if they had a little bit better of an offensive line, maybe it'll be a little bit
yeah,
easier. But like you have so many weapons on
no,
offense, especially at the wide receiver room, that just find ways to use them. And I think for the most part in this game, they did a pretty good job of that. Like you put up 31 points on this USC defense, and while I don't think this UFC defense is maybe the best defense in the entire country, maybe we might play a better defense later down the line, like a Penn State or something like that. But like, and at that point, like we can start talking about like games that we truly think we have a chance, games we don't. Like we can fully have that conversation. But like you put up 31 points on this USC team, and you were right there at times. And I feel like that's kind of my biggest takeaway of this game is I don't love the idea of moral victories, and I know you don't either. But like truly, it's hard to say that this was a moral victory because it shouldn't be, but this just felt different. And even though it ended up being a 14-point loss, going into this game, the average loss against a top 25 team is 31 points. And I'm not saying, and we can go back to have a full on argument that would be an hour and a half long about is this okay? Is this what MSU should be
yeah,
like? I think
exactly.
we would answer the questions as no. But
Yeah,
for
no one's
where
saying that
MSU
shit.
has come from, you can kind of say a little bit of a moral victory for
No,
MSU
it
after
was a
this one.
well, yeah, I completely agree. It was a way more respectable fight. It just gives you faith moving forward. That I mean, let's put it this way. I was talking to my dad and I said, I'm not like beaming with confidence that we're gonna beat Nebraska, but like I'm not scared really. I'll be interested to see what the line will be. I do not think it'll be 19. I know for a fact it won't be 19. I think like that's a winnable football game. Like there were ways last night where if certain things would have happened, we could have all been walking out of there being like, "Oh, we are not beating Nebraska. Let's try to beat UCLA because we aren't beating Nebraska either." But it's not like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I feel like the Nebraska game, and obviously we'll preview it more, but I feel
Yeah,
like the Nebraska game is one of those games that if Smith really wants people to buy in
yeah,
on what they're doing, figure out a way to win. Like, it's a game that you're not going to be a favorite in. It's a game that Smith hasn't won yet. If you figure out a way to win that game, I feel like that changes a lot of things, and I feel like we've learned some stuff from the USC game, but coming out of this bye is going to be absolutely massive, and I don't want to say you have any momentum going into the bye because obviously a loss is a
yeah,
loss, but like you have pieces here, and I feel like that's the biggest thing is that we'll have to wait and see what this happens. Like, is this going to be something that MSU is going to respond back with and they're going to be ready? Or is this going to be the start of the turn like it happened last year with Boston College? I feel like that's the next biggest thing for MSU after this 14-point loss to USC.
yeah. No, I think the bye week number one. I guess there's two of them, but comes at a good time. And yeah, you get along. Who's Nebraska got? Are they bye too, or you have any idea? I'm gonna look really quickly.
Let me look.
Looks like they've got a bye too. Dang, of course. Yeah, they've got a bye as well. So both teams are gonna be rested. I mean, now again, that's another kind of like that's just Coach Smith, Coach Rule. They're both gonna have 2 weeks to scheme up stuff, and again, yeah, Coach Smith made a living at Oregon State of winning games they shouldn't have won, and beating teams they aren't supposed to beat at Oregon State. And again, it's Michigan State, it's Nebraska. I mean, historically, Nebraska is good, but whatever. Like, I don't think it's even like that. So you just got to go out and do it now. Like, now like you said, if you want any momentum for the program, like you have to win this game now. And I don't think it's an overstatement to say that. Again, it's like we've been talking about. There's no moral victories, but they looked better last night. And so now it can be a fairer expectation to say, hey, go win, go beat them.
Exactly. I completely agree. That should be the goal. That should be an expectation to be competitive in that game, figure out a way to win. And
Yeah,
if you do, then hey, we can have another discussion after UCLA. If you win that game, you're 5-1 at that point. I think fans would be pretty happy with that at that point.
thrilled.
Yeah, and then you also have like Minnesota and stuff like that as
Yeah.
well. So yeah, at this point, we'll see. But 3-1, MSU, in my opinion, is right exactly where probably fans wanted them to be at. It's truly about how you're going to respond after this after the USC game.
Yep. No, just how you respond. Just can't get caught up in anything. You just gotta keep working for it, and you know it'll be a loud environment in there. But school down the road just went in and won, and they didn't play like a perfect game or anything. They gave up a Hail Mary before halftime and still won. So like
Yeah,
I I don't think like this game was like it's like yeah you're supposed to lose this one, but like next week or a couple weeks I think the tone is different, and instantly becomes the biggest game of the year again. Like this week was, Boston College was, but now it's Nebraska, and 4-1 and 4-1 and 3-2 are really different and really change the complex, just the feeling around the program. Honestly, probably even for the players. Like
absolutely.
so,
We
yeah,
we will see. But yeah, this will be the last little episode of at least MSU for the both of us. Maybe I'll get you on for like a Lions or maybe even an SVSU, depending on how things go. But anything before we wrap up here, before we kind of give it a little bit break, and we'll be back with a guest joining us. I don't know how many co-hosts of their podcast will be joining us, but for the first time, we'll have another podcast coming on, a Nebraska podcast. Love their name. I'll give their name when we come closer. But anything
cool.
else before we start talking about Nebraska football with this great podcast, in my opinion?
Um, yeah, I'm just gonna say one thing. It is coaching again. I'm not trying to get all over him. I think I see a little bit too much like indecisiveness, kind of, especially in like the end of the half. Last week we saw that weird little thing at against Youngstown. And then this week in that drive before the half where Connington ultimately missed the field goal, our first play, I want to say, out of the kickoff was run at like I don't know, it ended at 31 seconds and it was second down and we had a timeout or I think yeah, only one left and we ended up not calling it until 24 seconds left, which is just to me that just shows indecisiveness. Like this that either is called right away at 31 or you don't call it and you go into halftime, which I'm not a proponent of. Like I'd way rather them call the timeout and go try to score, obviously. But you hit that pass to Kelly later and you got to a 56-yard field goal. Imagine you had 7 more seconds. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like one of those
Exactly.
things. Like that's just 7 seconds you just basically not basically, that's just 7 seconds you wasted. So I think again, like that's something that I don't know if because with all the like analytics and stuff now, I don't know how much of it is like Smith or someone's in his ear telling him, but I think you just got to iron that out as the season goes on, and because that's something that good teams don't or like super elite teams are not going to do.
Yeah. And we can obviously do like another like 30, 45 minutes on just time decisions on coaches just not being great time managers. And yeah, no, just another time where you wonder what's going on with the coaching staff with there. Hopefully it never comes back to truly bite them in the butt. They could, but yeah, there's definitely some interesting stuff when it comes to time management, at least this year so far with Jonathan Smith.
Yep. But I have faith they'll get it ironed out, and we'll see how they look out of the bye. I'm excited. I'm already excited for it. I'm already excited.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, at least the way it ended, I feel like there's a little bit more excitement and hope
That's what
going
I'm.
into Nebraska.
Yeah. No. 100%. It's not. I'm not dreading turning on that TV. Is there even a time for that yet?
I
TBD
don't
or
think there is a time as of right
TBD?
now.
So, yeah, no, I'm excited to watch that game and see how they fight, and I'm expecting I think State could get it done, so we'll obviously do the preview, but yeah, it'll be fun.
Yep. No, definitely agree. Definitely looking forward to that preview. But yeah, no, thank you for everyone tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed this recap. There was some positive, some concerns that happened. That's just MSU football at this point. Yeah, we'll give it a little bit of a break, but we'll be back in about a week and a half to talk about Nebraska. But yeah, thank you for everyone tuning in. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, comment, all that kind of stuff. Would really appreciate that. And yeah, that's a wrap to episode number 491. Thank you again for joining me, Liam, and
Yeah,
hope
thanks for
everyone
having me.
has a great rest of your day.